The women in my hollow turn 65 and look 50. They turn 75 and look 60. Their cheeks hold color. Their eyes still shine wet and bright in the morning light. Their skin moves like it remembers being young. And in the next 16 minutes, I am going to show you exactly what they eat to make that happen. With 5 foods that are sitting in your kitchen right now, and one quiet thing I learned after 55 years of watching what truly turns the clock back. Greetings, my child. Mother Mary Beckford here. For more than 55 years, I have served my people in the Blue Mountains of Jamaica with the bush medicine my grandmother passed to me, and her mother passed to her before that. My grandmother lived to 91, her mother before her 94. My great aunt Cherry walked to the river to wash her own clothes until the week she passed at 88. None of these women had a beautician. None of them had a dermatologist. What they had was a yard full of food the Creator put there on purpose, and one small thing I will tell you about toward the end. Researchers from up north came once with their notebooks. They wanted to study what the old island grandmothers ate. They left writing about polyphenols and antioxidants. My grandmother only smiled when I read it to her. She said, "Mary, they took 50 pages to say what we say in one bite. What I am about to share will write itself across your face for the next 10 years, not in lines and shadows and light and color, in the brightness folks notice when you walk into a room and someone says, 'My goodness, you look wonderful. What have you been doing differently?' That is the result we are going for, my child. So let me start giving it to you right now before I earn another minute of your time. Number 5, sweet potato, the deep orange one, almost red when you cut it open. Most folks pass right by this in the market because they think it is too plain to do anything important. But the deep color is beta carotene, and your liver turns it into vitamin A. And vitamin A is what tells your skin cells to keep making fresh new layers, the way a young garden keeps pushing up new green shoots through the spring soil. This is the food that gives you the warm glow strangers comment on. Researchers in California studied women who ate orange and yellow vegetables every day for 6 weeks. They measured the actual color of the women's faces. Strangers could see the warmer, healthier glow without being told anything. The old grandmothers in our hollow would have laughed gently. We watched that glow on the faces of our elders for generations before any university came knocking. My grandmother roasted a whole pan on Sunday with coconut oil and sea salt. We ate from that pan all week. She called them yellow gold. Eat one small sweet potato 3 or 4 times a week, baked with a little olive oil or beside half an avocado. The fat is the carriage that carries the goodness across the gut wall. Pair it with a squeeze of lime, the way we do on the island. The vitamin C helps the skin lock in collagen while the sweet potato is doing its work underneath. But here is something I must tell you, because if I do not, the food will only do half its work for you, and I will not let that happen. Every food I am about to share carries pigments and fats and water and fiber that travel through the belly to reach the skin. The road they travel on is the friendly bacteria in your gut. After 60, that road thins out, not because anything is wrong with you, because that is what bodies do. Therefore, the same sweet potato that lit up your face at 30 needs a little extra help reaching your face at 70. I am going to come back to that in a few minutes and tell you what I have landed on. Hold that in your hand for now. The 5 foods first. Number 4, dark leafy greens, kale, collards, spinach, callaloo on my island. The leaves your grandmother used to cook down with garlic and salt. These greens carry a quiet treasure called lutein and zeaxanthin, pigments that gather in the eye and in the skin where they keep the bright wet shine that makes a face look 10 years younger than the years on the calendar. You know the look I mean, the eye that catches the light, the cheek that holds tone instead of going gray. Researchers in Spain followed 1,400 adults, over 40 for 5 years. Those eating greens 5 times a week showed measurably less skin roughness and brighter eye whites than those eating greens once or less. The findings only confirmed what the women in my hollow already knew. We watched the bright eyes on our great aunts well into their 80s. They ate callaloo 3 or 4 times a week without fail. Eat 1 cup of cooked greens 4 times a week with a little olive oil and garlic. Do not pour the dark cooking water down the sink. That dark water is the medicine. Sip it warm in a small mug before bed. The old grandmothers called it pot liquor, and they would drink it like tea on cool nights. Let me tell you about Eleanor, because her story is the one I want you carrying close. Eleanor came to see me 2 seasons ago, 71, retired from teaching 2nd grade, drove down from Asheville to spend a week with her sister near our hill. Eleanor told me she did not feel old, but the mirror was telling a different story. She had stopped cooking for herself after her husband passed. We sat together, and I taught her how to cook a small pot of greens once a week and freeze it in little portions. By week 8, her face was softer. Her eyes were clearer. Her sister told me Eleanor's cheek tone was warmer by what felt like a noticeable improvement. But here is the part Eleanor herself called the turning point. The greens lifted her face partway home. The last piece, the part that took her from looking 68 to looking 55, did not click in until she added the inside support I am going to tell you about. Her words to me on the phone 4 months later. Mother Mary, my granddaughter asked me last week if I had been to the salon. I have not been to the salon in 2 years. If you are taking blood thinner medication from your doctor, the vitamin K in dark greens can interact with that medicine. Speak to your doctor about how much is right for you before you begin. The old ways and the new ways must walk together when there is medicine in the picture. Number 3, avocado, the pear-shaped fruit with the dark green skin and the buttery flesh inside. On my island, we call them pears. My great-grandmother sliced one open every morning and ate half with a little sea salt and a squeeze of lime. The avocado carries monounsaturated fats, the same kind of fat that lives in the membrane of every skin cell on your face. Picture your skin cells like little water balloons. The wall of the balloon needs to be soft and supple to hold its shape. The avocado is what keeps that wall soft. Therefore, your face stays plump where it should stay plump. Your cheek lifts where it should lift. The skin moves like the skin of a woman 15 years younger because the cells underneath are being fed what they were fed at 50. A study from Australia followed 700 adults for several years. Those eating avocado regularly had measurably more elastic skin than those who did not. The old island grandmothers had been watching this in their own faces for 2 centuries. They were not surprised. Eat half an avocado most mornings, mashed on sourdough, sliced into a salad, spooned out of the shell with olive oil and salt. Now I want to stop here, my child, because this is the moment I have been walking you toward. For 15 years after my grandmother passed, I watched something I could not explain. Folks in my village were eating the same 5 foods their elders ate, drinking the same pot liquor, walking the same hills, but they were not aging the same way. The food was doing its part. Something was missing. Therefore, I went looking. I tried the kombucha brews from town. I tried the kefir my cousin made. I tried capsule after capsule that folks brought back from the mainland. Most did nothing. A few did something, but not enough. And every elder I spoke to had the same complaint. The pills sit in the throat. The pills feel like work. After 55 years of serving my people, I will tell you plainly, if a remedy is hard to take, the body never gets it long enough to bloom. I finally landed on something my niece sent me from up north, a gummy called BoochBod. The reason I trust it is what is inside it. There are 3 pieces every belly needs after 60, the probiotic, which is the seed, the prebiotic fiber, which is the soil that feeds the seed, and the postbiotic, which is the fruit the seed produces when the soil is alive. Most products give you only the seed. The seed lands on dead ground and nothing happens. BoochBod carries all 3. The probiotic includes 2 clinically studied strains called lactospore and postbiotics LM1004. The prebiotic fiber feeds them, and the postbiotics come from the kombucha culture itself. It also carries dandelion root and slippery elm, which my grandmother used to gather from the hills above our village and brew into a bitter tea for the elders. Over 30,000 folks are taking it now. The part that mattered most to me, the part Eleanor told me changed her life, is that it is a gummy, not a pill. You eat it like a piece of candy with your morning tea. No water, no throat, no work. For folks who have spent a lifetime fighting with capsules, this is the small mercy that finally lets the medicine in. The folks who make BoochBod stand behind it with a 60-day money-back promise. Therefore, if you take it for 60 days and your skin does not look softer, your morning does not feel brighter, your belly does not feel calmer, you send it back and they refund you. 60 days is enough time for the soil to come alive. The link is waiting for you down in the description whenever you are ready. Speak to your doctor before starting any supplement, my child, because every body is its own garden. Now back to the food, because the food is the foundation, and you must lay the foundation alongside the inside piece. Number 2, chia seeds. These little black seeds, smaller than your thumbnail. Soak 1 tablespoon in water for 15 minutes and they swell into a soft gel. The same swelling happens inside your gut where it holds water in your tissues for hours. The skin gets a sip of that water. The joints get a sip. The eyes get a sip. This is the food that gives you the dewy, plump look that women 15 and 20 years younger have without trying. Soak chia in a small glass of water in the evening. Drink it before bed. The body does its rebuilding through the night, and the chia gives it the water it needs. If this video is helping you, daughter, this is the moment to tap subscribe. Not because I am asking for the favor, because I am about to give you the master food of all 5, and there is more after that. And I want you to find your way back here next week when I share what we eat for the joints. 2 seconds, that is all. Number 1. Cooked tomato. Yes, my child, the simple tomato. But here's what most folks do not know. Eating it raw gives you only a fraction of its gift. The cooked tomato, simmered slowly with olive oil, releases a deep red pigment called lycopene. Lycopene is what keeps the deep layers of skin looking like they belong to a woman in her 50s. The layers your daily cream cannot reach. The layers that decide whether your face holds its tone or starts spotting. A cooked tomato carries up to 4 times more usable lycopene than a raw one. The cooking softens the cell walls. The olive oil carries the pigment across the gut wall and into the bloodstream where the skin can use it. Researchers in Germany studied close to 500 adults eating cooked tomato sauce daily with olive oil for 10 weeks. They measured the skin's resistance to redness from sun. The protection went up by close to 40%. 40%, my child, from a kitchen practice my great-grandmother did 3 nights a week without ever knowing the science. She just knew her elders' faces stayed clear into their 90s. Let me tell you about Beatrice. She came to me from Cedar Rapids in Iowa, 68, retired church organist, 40 years of summer gardening. She had been eating tomato only raw, in salads, almost never cooked. We sat in my kitchen and I made her a slow sauce. Garlic, olive oil, sea salt, fresh tomatoes simmered for an hour. She took the recipe home and ate a small bowl of it 3 nights a week. By month 4, her daughter sent me a photograph. The dark spots on Beatrice's cheeks had faded by what her dermatologist measured as a meaningful improvement. The rough patches had softened. But the part Beatrice called the magic, the part that took her from looking 68 to looking in her early 50s, did not lift until she added the inside piece I told you about. Her belly had been quiet for years. The lycopene was traveling but not arriving. Once the soil came alive, the pigments started doing their full work. Her words to me on Easter Sunday. Mother Mary, I sat in my garden last week and I felt like myself at 50 again. I caught my reflection in the kitchen window and I did not flinch. That, my child, is what the food and the inside piece do together. Neither one alone, both in rhythm. 2 or 3 times a week, simmer a small pot of sauce. Whole canned tomatoes if fresh ones are not in season. 2 tablespoons of olive oil, a clove of garlic, a pinch of salt. Cook on low for at least 45 minutes. The slow cook is what releases the lycopene. Eat half a cup with your dinner. 3 small things I have learned in 55 years. First, pair your sweet potato or your tomato with a little fat. The fat is the carriage. Without the carriage, half the goodness drives past your driveway and is gone. Second, consistency matters more than perfection. The grandmothers who lived to 90 did not eat all 5 every day. They ate them in a steady rhythm across the week. Third, eat your greens before your starches. The fiber settles the belly first, which slows how fast the sugars hit the blood. Steadier blood sugar means less inflammation, which means fewer fine lines forming year by year. Hear me now, my people, because this is the part I want you carrying close. What you are walking toward is not a younger face. What you are walking toward is the morning where the light comes through the kitchen window and lands on the table where you peel an avocado for yourself slowly, the way your grandmother peeled one for you, and you catch your reflection and smile because the woman looking back is the one you remember. The granddaughter who climbs onto the porch, step beside you, and asks if she can comb your hair will not see her grandmother. She will see a woman who looks like she could still chase her around the yard. The cells are listening to what you feed them. Every meal, every day. It is never too late to begin again, even at 70, even at 80. The clock can move backward, my child. I have watched it do so on hundreds of faces in my hollow. 5 foods. Sweet potato 3 times a week with a little fat for the warm glow strangers notice. Greens 4 times a week with olive oil and garlic for the bright eye and clear skin. Avocado most mornings for the soft cheek that lifts the way a younger cheek lifts. Chia 3 nights a week soaked in water for the dewy plump look 15 years younger. Cooked tomato sauce 2 or 3 times a week, slow simmered with olive oil for the deep skin tone that holds against the years. That is the foundation. That is what feeds the soil from above. But the soil itself, the friendly bacteria that decide whether the food reaches your face or passes right through, that is what BoochBod is for. The link is in the description. 60-day money-back promise. Tap that link now while you are still sitting here with me before life pulls you back into the next thing on your list. The folks who do that are the ones who write to me 4 months later telling me their granddaughter asked them if they had been to the salon. Until next time, my child, walk in peace. Mother Mary loves you.